you can't just speak with one type of publication, or you can't just do LinkedIn, but not do the media,
Right.
not go to the conferences.
Yes.
You have to do all the things. That
Yes.
is the difference. You have to kind of be everywhere.
You're listening to Beyond the Claim, the show for forward-thinking risk and claims professionals curious about the latest industry trends, winning strategies, and stories from influential leaders. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond the Claim. I'm your host, Marc Cunningham. With me today, I have founder and CEO of Omnia, Beth Jarecki. Beth,
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Today, we are actually at RIMS 2025. I don't know why I said it that way, but 2025 in Chicago, downtown Chicago. Wonderful event so far, day one.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining.
Great to be here. It's great to be here.
I was excited to do this because we kind of turned the tables. So Beth and her firm have been working with us at Crawford and Broadspire over the past couple of years. Media presence, communication, corporate positioning. And so love the opportunity to have a conversation with you.
Thank you.
Before we dive into the deep end, I'd love to hear how and why you started Omnia.
Okay. Well, the company has been Omnia for about 2 years, but I've had the business for about 20 years. So the way it came about is at my previous agency where I was an employee, where I worked, Lloyd's of London was my client, and I worked for Lloyd's for many years.
Yeah.
And the former CMO, the chief marketing officer, left and started a firm. And like 2 months later, she said, actually, you know what? A lot of these clients want to be known in the US. So it was a lot of the London-based clients.
Okay.
The majority of their business in the insurance market comes from the US. So they really wanted to get their names out. So the rest is history. So she and I started the firm, and it's grown over the years. We've rebranded a couple times, but but we've stayed true to what we do. So we don't do any product PR or anything like that. So we really work with financial and professional services companies. We work with a lot of insurance companies, accounting firm. We have a top 10 accounting firm, law firms. So it's financial services, fintech. So most of what we do is really thought leadership. We were chatting about this earlier,
yes.
And really all of our clients are professional services. So their products are their people. Mm-hmm. So that's we've stayed true to that over the years. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 20 years now. 20
years. So thought leadership, expand on that. How do you define that?
Okay. Yeah. Well, thought leadership again. So within most of our clients, take a company like Crawford and Broadspire, you don't have one thing to sell, like this glass. You are selling a service. You're right. Selling your people, and and even your technology is created by smart people. So it's really important, especially in the insurance industry and any professional services industry, to establish trust. And so that the clients feel that they're working with people who are smart, they're experts. They might read something that you said and say, oh, that's my guy, Marc. He's super smart. Mm-hmm. and I'm so glad that I'm working with him. So it could reinforce a decision to work with someone, or it could be, I'm reading about this firm and they're really quoted about cyber all the time. They really know what's going on. They are cutting edge. They're sophisticated. I should speak with these people. So it's really another way to really get out into the market is thought leadership. And it could just be media, but it could also be social media as well, or speaking at conferences. Okay. It could be all those different things. But it's really about taking a person who has a great deal of expertise and drawing them out and getting their expertise out into the public to really add some value to help potential clients understand what they should be thinking about.
And do you think it's just not a natural behavior for individuals to be really good at something, but also market it or communicate it to the
Yeah, you know what? It's not everyone's a natural. So, it's very funny because we used to say to our clients, don't worry, you're not going to be on CNN or CNBC or whatever it might be. And if you are, it's going to something really big is going to happen for that to happen. Right. And so you don't worry about these videos, yes. Really bad or good. Yeah. But a lot of people are on video now. Yeah. So here at RIMS, there's 3 camera crews set up, and you see all sorts of insurance people down there doing these interviews. So it's a lot to do. It's a lot to sit down in front of a camera and have a conversation. And some people are very, very nervous about it. It might not be natural at all. So we do media training. We help them, and really they have to prepare. So we don't send anyone out in front of a camera or even to do a media interview without sitting down and having a discussion. What are the questions going to be? Let's talk about your answers. We have all sorts of strategies to help people do this.
I remember this. The media training, I mean, I often associate that with a larger network, big production. So when you say that, it gets a little intense. It can be intimidating.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really. I mean, I think we sat down, it was very practical, and it was well timed and placed because it added to the eventual interview that I did myself.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
And it helps with everything. So it could help with an interview, but it could also help if you're on a panel or if you are even in a meeting. It's kind of thinking about the preparation that you have to do to get ready for any time that you're going to communicate. And think about the vast amounts of communications that are happening here at RIMS. Every half hour, people are sitting down with another group, having a conversation. So if you prepared for that media interview, you'll be prepared for all of those conversations to sit down and say, what am I trying to get across about my company? What are some of the trends that people want to know about? What are some of the questions that are going to come up? So tariffs came up today in a couple different media interviews. That's something that we anticipated. So in those, I'm sure they're not just coming up in media interviews, they're probably coming up in all the meetings with carriers and brokers, and everybody's chatting about it. Yeah. So think about it ahead of time. What's the position on that? What do you have to add to that discussion? And just taking that time to think about all of those things ahead of time really bring great value to a company before you go into a conference.
The biggest opportunity is just having a plan and having thought through it in advance? Do you think that's where the biggest miss is / opportunity for yourself and your organization?
I think absolutely. It's funny, our company name, we rebranded in the last 2 years, but it's Omnia Apparatus is the full name, and it means ready for all things.
I just didn't know how to pronounce it.
I know, I don't either. I've been told I pronounce it wrong. But it means ready for anything, prepare for all things. And so we always know you can't prepare for everything because things are going to go wrong, and we're in the business of risk, so we completely understand that. But by preparing, it's going to make so much of a difference. So even sitting down before this conversation, we gave you a list of questions. I thought about what I might want to say. Yep. You threw the list away. We're having a conversation, but I still prepared because I thought about it. Yes. I just took a few minutes and I thought about the issues, and I got myself ready. So it's really important to take that time when especially if you have meeting. What do I want to achieve out of this meeting? What do I want to get across? What do I want to say about my company? What do I want to say about what's going on in the world? What is the ask even? Just sitting down and thinking about all these things before an interview, a panel. I saw someone. I just went to a panel. Literally, the guy came in right before the panel and sat down, and I'm hoping he was preparing because there was sometimes you want to look at the room, you want to see what's going on, you want to ease into it, you want to be on time. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Do you see any difference in readiness or comfort level with the new media based on generation, or is it really just human beings and getting them comfortable with this mode of communicating?
I think it's interesting. So from a generational point of view, I mean, I think the people that I work with tend to be on the senior side. Those are the people who are selected by their company to be spokespeople for their companies. So I think that generation is excited about podcasts for sure. I think they're happy to do the videos. They understand they need to do it. Maybe they are nervous to do it, but they know they need to do it. They understand the power of social media. They understand LinkedIn. Not everyone, but people are coming along to those things, especially in this industry. Yeah. So, but I think a lot of maybe the hesitation is some people think maybe I don't have anything to add to the conversation. Okay. I'm just going to say the same thing all these other people are saying. So again,
but that's a real
preparation.
Thing, though. I mean, that's an individual,
for sure.
Yes, I have expertise, but as you mentioned earlier, do you really, is this significant enough to have a conversation about? Is it worthy of the broader audience? I mean, when you're sitting down with someone and you're kind of preparing them, right? How are you pulling that out of them so that they feel that what they have to say is meaningful and valuable and where they should focus?
Yeah. So I've been listening to media interviews for more than 20 years, and a lot of times I sit and I listen. So I know when when you see like the light bulb go off,
Okay.
like when it's going to be, the twinkling lights, like you hear, oh, that's interesting. So we ask the questions. We sit in the prep sessions and we'll ask a bunch of questions, and we wait to have those little twinkly moments, and we get them. We always
Okay.
get them. We draw it out. That's what our intention
Right.
is to find those special things. So if we hear them talking about things that everyone else is talking about, we say, okay, that's something I haven't heard, and we're listening to everything. So we're reading the media every day. Our agency really almost works like a newsroom. We're constantly talking about the news all day.
Sure.
When there's a weather event, we're all talking about the weather event or a cyber event or everything that's going on. We're always talking about. So we really have our ears to the ground in terms of what all the chatter is.
Yep.
So we know enough to know we don't know everything. So when we listen to our clients speak, we help pull out the interesting tidbits, and it's also from their perspective. So no company does it quite like your company, and we could talk about what would be the claims perspective on this news.
Okay.
Maybe another company wouldn't be able to provide that type of perspective. So we just pull it out of you.
So obviously media has changed dramatically over
Yeah,
the last 20,
sure.
30 years. How has it changed specifically in line with what you do, and for better or for worse potentially, and where do you see it going over the next 5-10 years? I mean, even 5-10 years seems like it's too far out at the pace that we've been iterating, but how has it changed and where do you see it going?
Yeah. Well, it has changed. The biggest change is really social media. The biggest change is that back in the day, one of the only ways to get your news out was through the traditional media. Like you had to get it out in the Wall Street Journal, you had to go through the trade publications. But now we have social media, you have blogs, you can make your own news. So that's definitely something that has changed dramatically. So I think over the years, you heard people say, well, maybe people won't want to be talking to the media anymore because everyone has their own media outlets and there's other ways to communicate. But people really, really still want to be in the media, which makes me happy because that's my job. But they do. People really want to be in the media because it's different, because you could say ththese things about yourself, but it's having a third party, another party, look to you as an expert, which is different.
Sure.
So, but I think the way things have changed is that it's not just one thing. You can't just speak with one type of publication, or you can't just do LinkedIn but not do the media,
Right.
not go to the conferences.
Yes.
You have to do all the things. That is the difference. You have to kind of be everywhere, and you have to have a message. So the very positive thing about that is that there's lots of different starting points. So if a company has a podcast, we could say, oh, you just had that interesting podcast. You spoke about social inflation. That was fascinating. Let's see if we could talk to a reporter about that. And now let's write an article about that. And let's see if we could get you on a panel on that issue. So that's the way we approach it, is that we come up with the concept, the idea, that special idea, and then we repurpose it in many different ways.
So one of the hot topics for the past couple of years, but definitely this year, is AI. Specific to adjusters. How is it augmenting versus replacing, or vice versa from an adjuster perspective? When I think about your particular industry, I've got to believe there's you're probably having to work with organizations, and how do we message that, right? But directly for you, I would think there's also an impact to how people are messaging, right?
Yeah.
Where we may be losing some of the authenticity, and it may be more AI generated. Are you seeing that at all, or is that something that you all are conscious of or sensitive to?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we have a team of writers that take themselves very seriously and really do not want to know from AI. And they're very, very good. And what we specialize is really speaking in our client's voice and understanding not just our, so when I say our client's voice, understanding the corporate voice, but also understanding individuals' voice and their sense of humor and their tone and their expertise, and interviewing them and drawing it out from them. So I think in terms of AI, we're using it kind of behind the scenes for possibly, for research, and we're sort of dabbling in it a little bit, but the core of our writing is really staying true to what we've done. But in terms of AI for our clients, it's like the biggest question that comes up for everyone. So everyone is interested in AI, but I think the other thing, but something that's very relevant to everything going AI, or maybe is really people.
Yeah.
It's so we have to, we always, it always comes back to the people. So we are getting our professionals, our executives ready to go out to conferences like RIMS, to speak with the media, to speak on panels, to get out there and have these conversations. So you really need, so if you just prepared with AI, I'm going to be better than that, I feel like, because we could listen to you, we could help draw you out, we could, so in terms of putting messages together, you don't want to just like plug it in and pump out some random messages. So for example, I want to go and talk about cyber. I'm going to plug that in and see what are the top things I need to know about cyber. That will be okay, but then you will sound like everybody else. So you really need to take some time and prepare. So it definitely could assist and aid, and it's a good place to start. So for example, if I brought you a list of the top 5 things everyone's talking about in cyber from AI, and I said, what do you think? And then I would say, what do you think of that? And you would say, I think the second one is really the thing. And I would ask you why, and we would draw it out. So so it definitely could assist and make that process faster.
Right.
But I think the important thing is that people need to be trained. People need to practice their communication skills because it's necessary. There's so many people here.
That last part to me is critical. I mean, especially being business development oriented, where I think we just at times get so comfortable with, I've been there, done that before, that you don't realize that it does still take practice. You still need to hone your craft. You still need to anticipate what the other person may be interested in. Even if it's not a sales exercise, just a regular conversation, to your point in the opening on planning. So critical.
It is. It is.
So
That's
if I'm
what we're
asking, Beth, 20 plus years ago, I'll put it that way, from an Omnia standpoint, what you would do differently. Is there anything that you would change or that you would pivot on, or do you?
You know what? I've been super lucky. I want to knock on all the wood, but I've been really lucky because I definitely scaled my business very slowly because I have 3 daughters. And so I sort of, when I was asked to start the company with my colleague in London, she said, let's just try the one client. I said, okay, let's do that. I loved it. We got another client. And over the years, it's slowly grown. So now it started with just me, and now I have a great staff, a great company. It's a very supportive group. We love working together. We have amazing, smart clients. So I don't think there's anything I would change. It's just been slow. Maybe I would have done it faster, but I don't think so.
Well, I only have two daughters, so if you have 3, I think your pace worked out well.
Yeah, and they're I always say they're my 3 most important clients.
Yes.
Yeah, and they book time,
Absolutely.
They do.
Speaking of clients, as we close out, who are you targeting? Who are you looking at for clients?
Yeah.
And how do they contact you?
Well, I would say we really stay true we work for the insurance industry, financial professional services, so law firms, accounting firms. We work for different risk management organizations. I'm really interested in risk and compliance because there's such intersection. Technology that supports all of those things. That's the thing. And you could find me on LinkedIn.
All right.
But thank you for asking. We
do a lot of work in the benefits side too, and now that you say that, I think there's some opportunity there as well. So we'll have to talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
this was fun.
You joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for joining us on this episode.
You've been listening to Beyond the Claim, a podcast for risk and claims leaders. To ensure you never miss an episode, please subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you use Apple Podcasts, we'd love for you to give us a quick rating for the show. Just tap the number of stars that you think the podcast deserves. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.